Alright, in this video I'll be going over the Test 1 review, and I just want to say my problems are going to be different than yours, but it's just the numbers that'll be different. The process will be the same. I'll move at a pretty good pace, but you're certainly able to slow the video down or pause it whenever you need to. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So in this first problem, we want to determine if 16 is a solution to this equation. And so you just plug in 16. You're going to get 8 minus 96, because we got to multiply here, is equal to negative 81. That's negative 88 equals negative 81, and that is false. So this is not a solution. If it had made a true statement, then we would have said yes. It is a solution, but not in this case. On number 2, we're solving this equation. Now keep in mind, we were using, or I showed you guys a technique I called the CSI 1 and 2 step. And if you did these three things, you'd always end up with a 1 or 2 step equation, which you ought to be able to solve. So here we don't have any fractions to clear, that's the C, but we do have some simplifying to do. So notice on the left here we can distribute. We'll get 25x minus 45. And on the other side, we're distributing negative 1. So notice that's just going to change the sign of each of our terms inside. We'll get 13 minus x and a minus 7. We'll get negative 1x, which we write as minus x. Now notice 13 and 7 are like terms, so I simplified this so that you have 25x plus 45 is equal to 6 minus x. So at this point, now we're into the I. Do we need to isolate x on one side? Yes, we do. It's on both. So I'm going to keep my x on the left. I'll add x to both sides. We'll get 26x plus 45 is equal to 6. And subtract 4. Now, notice this is a two-step equation. And so we're going to have to divide by 26. We're going to have to subtract 45 in order to get x by itself. Whoops, I need to raise that up a little bit. So we have 26x plus 45 equals 6. To get x by itself, we'll divide by 25 and subtract 45. We always do the addition or subtraction first with two-step equations. We're going to get 26x is equal to negative 39. And then to get x by itself, we'll divide each side by 26. And so you're going to get x equals negative 3 halves. 39 and 26 are actually divisible by 13. 39 divided 13 is 3, and 26 divided 13 is 2. So you end up with negative 3 halves. So let's go ahead and write that in here, and that would be solution A. All right, let's look at number 3. So here we need to rearrange this equation so that it's solved for R. So thinking back to CSI, we have fractions to clear here. That's what we want to do first. So I'm going to multiply both sides by my LCD, which is just k here. Now on the left, we're going to get bk. On the right, now notice you got to multiply k times this numerator. We don't really want to distribute that because these k's cancel. We're left with r minus n over 1, or just r minus n. And if we're trying to solve for r, that means we need to get rid of the n. We'll add n to both sides. And we're going to get bk plus n is equal to r, or r is equal to bk plus n. All right, let's move on to the next problem. Actually, I'm going to go turn off the sound of my iPad. It keeps making noises. All right, I'm back. Number 4. Let's move this up. So we've got a playing field that's got a perimeter of 190 feet. The field is a rectangle, and the length is 45 feet longer than the width. So that's important here. Find the dimensions. So first thing you're going to want to do is draw a rectangle. And notice I called the width W, which is what we normally do. We call it our shorter side the width. And then you can see the length is 45 more than the width. Instead of using L here, we can write the width or the length using W. We want everything in terms of one variable. So we've got that set up. Now we are told the perimeter is 190. We've got a formula for perimeter. P is equal to 2L plus 2W. So notice I can plug in the perimeter, which is 190. And then 2 times L, remember L was W plus 45. And then our width we called W, so this is just 2W. So notice we have some simplifying to do. So we would distribute here. We would end up with 190 equals 2W plus 90 plus this 2W here. And notice I've got some like terms here. That's where I get the 4W. So notice now we have a two-step equation. And we're going to want to subtract 90 on both sides first. This is going to cancel. We're left with 100 equals 4W. Well, that means W is going to be 25. And so now if we go back here, remember we were dealing in feet. So the width is 25 feet. Notice that would be the feet here. And the length, now remember the length is the width plus 45. If you add 25 and 45, that's 70. And that's also feet because it's just this distance. All right, so that's number 4. Let's move on to number 5. So here you're solving an inequality. Now remember, when we solve inequalities, it's just like solving an equation, except if you divide each side by negative, you have to reverse the symbol. So in this problem, in terms of CSI, there's no fractions to clear. There's no simplifying to do. We've got 2 terms here that are not like terms. Same thing on the other side. So if you go to the next letter, I, we do need to get the variable on one side only. So we're going to want to subtract 8y on both sides. When you do that, you get negative 5y minus 1 is less than negative 3. Now this is what we call a two-step inequality. It's going to take 2 more steps. Notice we'll want to add 1 to both sides first. We're trying to get y by itself. We'll get negative 5y is less than negative 2. And then we're going to want to divide by negative 2. I'm sorry, to get rid of this negative 5, we're going to want to divide by negative 5. Now when we do that, we have to reverse the symbol because we divided each side by negative. And so we're going to get y is greater than 2/5. Remember, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And so that would be right here. And so our answer is C. Let's move on to the next page. All right, so this is similar to what we just did. We've got a little more work to do to simplify. We're going to have to distribute, so we'll get 10y minus 8 on the left and 15y plus 35 on the right. And now it's just like what we just did. We need to get y on one side only, so I'll subtract 15y on both sides. And when you do that, you're going to get negative 5y minus 8 is greater than or equal to 35. These guys add to 0. This is negative 5y here. So now we have a two-step inequality. We'll need to add 8 to both sides. And then we have negative 5y is greater or equal to 43. And we're going to have to divide each side by negative 5. Now when we do that, we know we're going to have to reverse that symbol. This is going to become y is less than or equal to negative 43/5. And so that would go right here. letter A. All right, let's move on. Now on number 7, we're supposed to find the intersection of these two sets. Well, that's basically what the two sets have in common. Or we need to find any elements that are in set A and also in set B, or each set. There's no number that's in both sets. The way I think of it is, what's the number that's common to both sets? Well, they have nothing in common. And so this is a case where the answer is the empty set. And if you had to write it, it would look like that, or you could write it with braces and nothing inside. All right, let's look at number 8. So in number 8, this is what we call a compound inequality. In fact, we could think of this, or we could rewrite this as 8 is less than 3y plus 17, and 3y plus 17 is less than or equal to 29. And we could solve those separately and put them together and have a final answer. Well, the easiest way to solve a problem like this compound inequality, is to get y by itself in the middle. And so I'm going to have to divide by 3, and I'm also going to have to subtract 17. And whatever I do to get y by itself in the middle, notice we have to do it to all 3 parts here. We don't just have 2 sides like in an equation. There's 3 parts. And so you always want to add or subtract first in a situation like this. So we'll subtract 17. 8 minus 17 is negative 9. We're going to get these guys to cancel, 3y in the middle. And then here, 29 minus 17, we're going to get 1 and 2, so 12. And now we want to divide by 3. Again, our goal is to get y in the middle. We're going to get negative 3 is less than y is less than or equal to 4. And so let's see where that goes. So we need less than or equal, so that's negative 3 less than y less than or equal to 4. So basically, y is between negative 3 and 4, including, or not including the negative 3, but including the 4. That would be our solution there. All right, let's move on to number 9. So here, find the indicated union. Now remember, with union, you want to take everything, or it includes everything that you find in this set, or in both. I always think of the word combine. So if you take everything in the larger set, in this case that would be C, G, J, S, and W, and then combine or add to that anything that you don't already have. Well, in this case, it looks like we have everything that's in here, and so this set really adds nothing to our set. That is going to be our answer there. All right, let's move on to number 10. All right, so it says solve and graph the following. So this is a compound inequality with and in the middle. So we're going to solve each of these separately. So in both cases, I'm trying to get x by itself. So notice my first step in both cases is to subtract 1 on both sides. We end up with negative 32 less than or equal to 4x. Here we have 4x is less than 24. And by the way, normally you probably do this one and then you do this one. Just to keep things simple, I'm going to do them together at the same time. Here, if I divide both sides by 4, I get negative 8 is less than or equal to x. Notice I divided by a positive 4. That's why I did not reverse the symbol. And remember, and is what we have in the middle. Over here, I divided by 4, and I got x is less than 6. So we have negative 8 is less than or equal to x, and x is less than 6. We could think of this as x is greater or equal to negative 8, and x is less than 6. So we can actually put this together into this one statement. Notice if you read that backwards, it says x is greater or equal to negative 8, and at the same time x is less than 6. Another way to say that is x is between negative 8 and 6. Notice negative 8 is in the set, but the 6 is not because there's no equal sign here. And so we're going to have a bracket on the left at negative 8 and a parenthesis on the right, so it looks like it's going to be this one right here. So I want to write this solution, and it would go right here. So negative 8 is less than or equal to x is less than 6. So option B. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop right there, and that's 1 through 10, and then I'll start another second video here.